I want to talk for a minute about the Bible and its relevance today as a book. I think if you took the Bible, if you took all the books of the world and ranked them, from one to whatever, you wouldn't put the Bible, I wouldn't put the Bible on that list. The Bible is a standalone and it doesn't belong with all the other books. It's in a class by itself. And I'll explain that this way. Jesus said, "Heaven and earth will fall away, but my word will never fall away." The book of John begins out, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us." So the Bible claims to be so much more than just a book, and I don't claim to understand how, the Bible can be God. But I've read the Bible cover to cover. I've studied it a lot over the years. I was born again about 45 years ago when I was 19 years old. And I also am a kind of a student of history. Don't have any degrees or anything like that, but I love history, and I'm always reading history and etc. And in my opinion, the Bible it has something. I don't think I've ever read a book that I could read a second time. It just didn't have my interest. The Bible I read over and over again, and I'm always finding new things. I'm always seeing things in a different light. And maybe this would help to clarify. If you ever seen those quizzes where they say, who are the top 10 generals or conquerors in all of history, they always have, Genghis Khan, Caesar, Alexander, and whatnot, rank. I don't remember ever seeing Muhammad on that list. But Muhammad was a warrior. He was so much more than that, of course, but just focusing on the warrior aspect, he had, I think, 60 or more campaigns in his lifetime, all successful. And when he died, they had conquered Saudi Arabia. But his movement didn't die with him, because he created Islam. And Islam, within 400 years of his death, Islam had conquered 2/3 of the then Christian world. And they conquered Jerusalem and stopped the pilgrimages, and that's what prompted the Crusades, and that went back and forth, but eventually it ended up back under Muslim control. In 1453, Constantinople fell, and they gained control over the Balkans, and the Europeans could no longer trade with India and China. And that's what prompted the Europeans to sail west. 1453, Constantinople falls. 1492, Columbus. The Europeans, desperate to find another way to get to India and China, they said, well, what the heck, we'll just sail across this ocean. We have no idea. What do we got to lose? Anyways, just as in my opinion, you cannot rank the top 10 conquerors in all of history and put Muhammad on there, because if you put Muhammad, well, then there's a number 2, and none of them are even in Muhammad's league, not even close. Muhammad's armies are still marching today. When Islam fights, they're following Muhammad's example and his commands. He was a warrior who led his men in battle, and he commands Islam to continue through whatever means necessary to spread Islam. And they do it to this day, and when they do it, they're following his example and his commands. Whereas Christians in the early days were persecuted by the Romans. The Romans had a big empire. They had lots of religions in their empire. And as long as you paid your taxes and offered up your young men to war, you were fine. Well, the early Christians took Jesus' command when Jesus told Peter to put away the sword. They took it seriously, and they wouldn't fight. They wouldn't send their young men to war. And so they were persecuted. And that all changed when one of the Roman emperors converted to Christianity, and the next thing you know, Christians are marching in the name of Christ and killing in the name of Christ. But when they did so, they were in direct violation of Jesus' command. Anyways, my reading of the Bible over the years has shown me that there's so much wisdom in the Bible. And just a verse that I read this morning struck me. I was reading with a friend. We read every morning and a chapter and have a short prayer. And Matthew 12, verse 25, Jesus said, "A kingdom divided against itself will be ruined." And it just hit me. That's what we're doing in America today. The ruling class has us at each other's throats. They're pushing this idea that whites are racist, white nationalists, domestic terrorists, insurrectionists. And, why are they pushing this? I think they're pushing it because if we're at each other's throats, then we take our eye off the ball. We don't focus on them as they are raping and pillaging the world, robbing us blind, leading us over a cliff. Look at Cherneva's income inequality graph. And don't get lost in the weeds. Don't look at, here's an uptick here where so-and-so was the president and a downtick here. Just look at the overall trend of the graph is downhill. Okay, the middle class is being decimated. To the point where if there's a new dollar of wealth created, whereas at one time some of that would have gone to the middle class, none of that goes to us now. In fact, they're robbing from us of what we have. And why do they want open borders? They don't want open borders because it'll create new Democrat voters. They want open borders because if there's millions of unskilled laborers pouring across the borders, that keeps wages low, which is bad for us, but it means profits are high for the oligarchs. So we're being destroyed economically so that they can have even more money than they already have. And we're being destroyed from within ideologically because they're pushing this narrative that has us at each other's throats. When I was born, America was about 90% white. If we were racist, why, and we're going to be a minority probably within my lifetime. If we were racist, we wouldn't have allowed that to happen. If we are racist, why does everybody want to come here? Because it's not true. They're pushing a false narrative, and enough people believe it, that it has traction. And, I have members of my extended family that we used to hang out together and get along just fine. And now it's like we're mortal enemies. I mean, some of them were like, they won't even talk to me because I have the wrong political ideology. So when you have cousins and, that are ready to go at each other, you're in trouble. A nation divided against itself cannot stand. And it's right there. It's right there. It's in the Bible. And it's been there for a long time. And it's just as true today as it ever was. If you want to know what happened yesterday, read the newspaper. If you want to know what's going on today, watch TV. If you want to know what's going to happen tomorrow, read the Bible. And over the years, I've experienced it. So I know a lot of people denigrate the Bible. A lot of people are going to disagree with this, and just as, if I was to criticize a physics book, you could rightly say, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about, because I wouldn't. And in my opinion, people that denigrate the Bible, they don't know what they're talking about. The Bible has got so much wisdom in it, and it's an incredible, it's a book that is so far and away it's so different from any other book, and it's so far and away above any other book that it's in a class by itself. And yes, it is relevant today. So that's it. I welcome your comments. Sorry I rambled on for so long, but that's just the way it goes sometimes.